What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with our mock draft Monday. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Our response, as always, helps out the algorithm. So, doing a little bit differently of a mock draft today, live draft, other people in here, same format, typical league format, 2 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 QB, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Picking from the 9 spot, the draft so far, we got Jefferson, we've got Chase. Let's check out the cheat sheets. I like looking at these. It just gives you an idea of the tiers. Obviously, my tiers are a little bit different, but like I said, it gives you a general idea. Okay, so we had McCaffrey go. Now we're seeing a little bit of a run on running backs. No pun intended. It'd be an awful one if it was. McCaffrey, Eckler, and Robinson. We'll see what we get going here. But yeah, I'm excited to do a live mock draft. I think these help you prepare a little bit more when you're doing it for regular people. The ESPN format's a little bit off to me this year right now in their mocks. It's a little bit too easy to just get, 5-6 stud players on your roster with their rankings right now. Hopefully they get their stuff together soon. But yeah, we will see. Cup goes at the 106. I think this draft is going how I see a lot of drafts going. Bijan may have gone a little bit earlier than I see in most drafts, although the hype on him is very real, so not shocking that he went at the 105, but I usually do see these 4 receivers, including Tyreek, with the 3 that have been taken already, go very early. Kelsey goes at the 107. That's another one that makes sense. And Tyreek Hill goes there. So this is kind of like if the seven best players were drafted according to my rankings, who would I take next up at the 9 spot? And the answer for me is quite simple here. It's Nick Chubb. 1,500 yards rushing last year. Kareem Hunt out of town. More pass catching to go his way. I'm going to take Nick Chubb. I love that draft pick. Honestly, I love getting Chubb at the 109. I think it's good value. I don't think it's a great pick because, like I said, I'd probably want one of those 8 guys that got taken in front of him. A little bit of it ahead of Nick Chubb, although I basically view him in those same tiers as Bijan and some of those other guys, although I do view Eckler and CMC a little bit better. As far as the running back tiers go, Diggs goes off the board, the 110. He's typically a first-round guy. I've been seeing a lot recently. I think people are waking up to being smart about Diggs and knowing where he should actually go in drafts. He's an absolute stud. And Josh Allen got hurt for a little bit last year. I think that affected his numbers. So, okay, guys, I'm hoping that come back around to me. I'd love a receiver. Honestly, Stephon Diggs probably my dream candidate, or an A.J. Brown, and he just goes off the board there. But this is good because you want to see how your draft goes when the best players are taken already. Tony Pollard goes there, another guy I probably would have thought about the 204 depending on who else was there. Okay, I'm on the clock, and Henry went there. Josh Jacobs is a little interesting to me here just because of the volume he's going to get. So is Jonathan Taylor. Honestly, at this point in the draft, I'm thinking I'm willing to take the risk on JT. Give me Jonathan Taylor. I think he'll end up playing for the Colts this season, and if not, I think he gets traded for a second-round pick or something like that to an offense that's going to really need him and utilize him heavily. He's still super talented. He's still young. He's still 24. That's the thing I like about Jonathan Taylor compared to a lot of these other running backs in this top that are getting drafted. If you look at, I think McCaffrey's 27, Eckler's 27, Bijan's very young, Chubb's 27. Derrick Henry's getting closer to 30. I think he's 29, turning 30 this season. Saquon is 26, I believe. Tony Pollard's 25. But yeah, basically that just goes to show a lot of running backs' best seasons are behind them by the time they reach age 27. Obviously, I took Nick Chubb. I was willing to believe in him, but he's averaged over 5 yards per carry his entire career. Coming off a fantastic year, and like I said, I think he gets more workload with their current depth chart. It's not that you can never take those guys, but I do think there is something to taking those younger running backs that are more likely to have that prime season at a younger age than taking, even Derrick Henry. Maybe he is the freak of nature that he has been, but eventually those wheels will fall off, and odds are you're going to want to rather take some shots on some younger guys. But when we're talking about that, like Najee Harris just went. Najee Harris is way younger than Derrick Henry. I'm still taking Derrick Henry ahead of Najee Harris all day. I think Derrick Henry is more talented, and I think he'll get a higher workload than Najee. So, like I said, a lot of factors that go into it, but it'll be interesting to see. So no QBs off the board yet. when they start to go. Because honestly, like if Josh Allen got back to me at the 309, I'd take him. I think about Mahomes. Hurts, I might wait till the 404 to see if I could get him there. That's just personal preference. I think Jalen Hurts is an absolute stud, though. I don't think there's any reason to really fade him. As we see, a lot of receivers going here. We had that little bit of a run on running backs at the beginning of the second round. And now Ramondre's going. I do think Ramondre should be firmly planted in the second round. I would definitely take him over Najee, but that's just my personal preference. And that's just, I think he'll have more guaranteed pass catching. I think he'll get more work on the ground than he did last year. 210 carries last year. I think he's going to get, 240, 250 plus this year and catch a similar amount, close to 70 passes. So, and like I said, RB1 last year for Ramondre, he was one of the running back values. That's a sneak peek at one of the guys. Check him out. And Mahomes goes here to 301. We were waiting for that. Team 1 going that 0 RB build basically so far, starting with Jefferson, Waddle, and Mahomes. Honestly, I don't mind that strategy. If I was him, I think I wish I would have gotten a better receiver than Waddle at that 212. If Olave, actually, I would have taken Waddle probably over Olave, and then. But yeah, if an Amon-Ra or someone like that got back to me, I might have been a little bit more excited about it. Joe Mixon's still on the board. He's interesting. I think he'll get taken. Yep. Just lots of workload for him. I like tracking the draft on the board, though, as we go. It's kind of exciting. It makes me feel like I'm in a real draft. Obviously, it's a mock, but feels good to be in one where people are really, taking guys. Jahmyr Gibbs goes. I think we'll have a decent amount of running backs going this third round. I think there's like 3 guys left that people are going to jump all over as they try to get that RB2 for their teams. Let's take a look. We got one more pick before we're up. Okay. I don't have... Okay, Josh Allen's still on the board. We're going to take Josh Allen. We're kind of doing the robust RB build. Basically, not even robust RB because we're taking a quarterback after 2 backs, but basically kind of going 0 wide receiver almost. I just think there'll be a good guy for us when we come back around in round 4. Hopefully I can snag a Keenan Allen or someone along those lines to get as my wide receiver 1. But I do feel like I've got difference makers at the running back and quarterback position so far. And I can just take a lot of shots at that wide receiver position the rest of the draft. I'll probably take 1 or 2 more running backs, maybe even 3 as the draft continues. We have a lot of rounds left. But definitely lean on Chubb, lean on Taylor. They're the core of my roster. Allen, hopefully he'll be a difference maker each and every week in that QB position. I like that Hurts. It just went. Like I said, I think Josh Allen's just great value at the 309. He scored more than 24 points. All 3 of the last seasons, so that's really impressive from him. I did think about ETN a little bit there, but Josh Allen is just, I've got question marks about ETN. I don't mind taking him at the 309, but if Josh Allen's on the board, I'll take the guaranteed production when I have 2 backs already. Aaron Jones goes at the 312. I think that was a good pick. Aaron Jones at the back of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th is really nice. I love the way that these QBs are going off the board. Lamar went to the 4. That's the thing. I think with all these quarterbacks like Herbert going that 4-5 turn, Lamar going around 4, Burrow going around 4, round 5. If you can get Josh Allen around 3, I just view him in a different tier than a lot of those other guys. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Mahomes, I view all in the same tier. But after that, I think it gets a little bit dicey. And Josh Allen is just... You get insane passing volume where he's got a good chance to throw for 4,700 yards, and he's run for 750 each of the last 2 years. That kind of rushing production boosted with that, ridiculous passing rate as well. It's just fantasy goodness is going to continue to pour out. Keenan Allen went. That was a bummer. Okay, looking at who is still on the board. Wide receiver-wise, for me, it's between Debo and Ridley. I'm going to swing the bat and take Ridley. I really thought about Debo there just because I do think he's a little bit more guaranteed than that one wide receiver. But I feel like you got to take swings. You got to try to get that difference maker in round 4. And Debo could easily be that. That's why I thought about him a lot. But I do just think Ridley could have that crazy year where he has, a 1,250-yard receiver, snags 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, and close to 100 passes in that Jacksonville Jaguars offense with Trevor Lawrence. And he's looked good in camp so far. Big layoff, so obviously that's worrying. But like I said, I'm going to take that shot now. I'm just going to keep taking a lot of shots at that wide receiver position as the draft continues. It's moving quick now, which I like. We have 4 picks right after that. So I took Ridley, then went Walker, Samuel, Sanders, and Moore. Burrow goes. So like I said, we've seen a lot of these QBs start to go. I bet Herbert will go before we get back to 509. Yeah, let me know in the comments whether you guys like the live drafts better, whether you like the simulated drafts better. Just let me know. I like to mix it up a little bit to get away from just simulated all the time. Give the people some different actions, some different reads. You get different drafts going against real people. So another thing that I would think about mock drafts and when you're thinking about your draft strategy is think about the other people in your league, how they draft year to year. If you know stuff like that, it's a major advantage. If you got a guy like takes into running back, you can kind of see what you like to do. What I'll do too is like, so let's say I've got the 10th pick in the first round. You should have your 10 players ranked so that you know. Let's say the 9 best players you have all go. Who are you taking at 10? That's a great strategy. And really, in fantasy football, 75 or 70% of your scoring a lot of times is going to come from your first 4 draft picks, or over 50% of your scoring. And I kind of like not taking a quarterback in those first 4 picks because then you're getting, a 20-plus point score outside of those 4. But, like I said, really you're just looking for difference makers. I think Josh Allen could be scoring 4 or 5 points more per game than all but 2 other quarterbacks this year probably. So that's why I took him there. Justin Fields and Herbert both go. Again, this is just good for us. Push some of these wide receivers back. There's a guy I would really love to grab, another upside pick. We will see if he gets drafted before us, though. We have 3 picks to go. The nice part is, though, the team with Tyreek, they only have 1 wide receiver, but these other 2 teams have 2 already. So they could really go either way. They're not pressured to go wide receiver if they don't want to. So hopefully we only get 1 or 2 off the board before we pick. Okay, so DeAndre Hopkins is still on the board. I'd be interested in him at this point in the 5th round. I think he's going to get a big enough target share, even a low passing volume, that he can, be very successful for fantasy. Okay, but there's a guy I like more, and I think he has a higher upside, and that's Christian Watson. Just extreme athletic profile, crazy speed, crazy size. And if Jordan Love is as good as the Packers think he's going to be trading away Aaron Rodgers, I think he could be a dynamite pick and a guy who has top 12 upside in fantasy football. I love getting him as my second wide receiver. Really don't mind at all that I took the 2 running backs and the quarterback when I can get Christian Watson in round 5. His upside is just so high to me. And like I said, I've already got the quarterback. And if I take a quarterback, I'm usually not going to take a tight end. Honestly, I just don't view any of these guys. Like if I could get Mark Andrews in round 4, sure, I'd think about it there. I think about him in round 3 as well, but obviously I took Josh Allen and Andrews was ahead of me. I think about him value-wise there, but outside of those guys, I'm not really interested in Hockenson. I'm not really interested in Kittle this year. So yeah, outside of those guys, I probably will just continue to wait for a while so I can keep stacking those wide receivers. Let's take a look at who we got on the board still. Talk about guys we could take. Lockett, Ayuk, Mike Williams, Marquise Brown, all guys I'd be interested in. Marquise Brown might get back to me a little bit later, so I might pass on him just to see if he can get back, but we're getting close to where it's going to be really tricky. Brandon Ayuk had a great season last year. I think he'll get drafted before we pick, but I guess we don't have much longer to wait. 1 pick, so If he doesn't go here, I think it'll be between Ayuk and Mike Williams for me. Okay, and it's simple enough because Ayuk was taken. Give me Mike Williams. When he's on the field, he's a guy you can plug in each and every week. A guy, especially if Watson doesn't hit for this roster, I could play Mike Williams and be happy with him every single season that he is, or every single week that he's healthy. So yeah, like I said, I just like the way that this draft's gone so far. You know, snag those 3 wide receivers there. I feel like I got a lot of upside with all 3 of them, and just guys I can plug in each and every week and just be fine with it. Again, I don't have that trusted guy, that number 1, but you got to hope a Ridley, a Watson could emerge as that guy, and then Mike Williams I can, flex or play as one of my wide receiver 2s. The thing is, there's guys still in the 7th and 8th rounds, so I wouldn't mind flexing right off the bat if the season starts, so then I can play the matchups potentially. Still a lot of value left on the board. We were talking about tight ends that I think are worth taking. I do think Kyle Pitts is worth a draft pick in the 6th round, just because of his crazy athletic profile. Obviously, his struggles have mainly been with the quarterback position there. I do think Ritter might not be the best guy for him, but I think if Taylor Heineke is going to play, and I think he'll play, it's just when, not if. I think Kyle Pitts will be very good for fantasy when Tyler Heineke is playing. Pretty sure I just said this, but yeah, like I said, Kyle Pitts, still 22 years old. A lot of reason to believe in him. I feel like the reason he's failed for fantasy so much has been pretty much his utilization in quarterback play. I think he will be utilized better if the quarterback is better. I think it really just comes down to that. We'll probably draft to the 8th or 10th round, something like that. Not do all these late picks, just have to wait for everybody. Um, no, I'm good on draft assistant. I am my own draft assistant. Swift in round 7 is good value. They've said he's looked really good in camp. He's very much been very good at the NFL level every time he's been on the field. Plays behind a great offensive line in Philly as well. Great offense. So a lot to like from DeAndre Swift, especially if you can give him in the 7th round. Okay, we are on the clock. Taking a look at the wide receivers on the board. There's an RB I really like to add to my roster. I'm going to try to snag him in the next round. I'm going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba here. Just love his talent. Think he's a difference maker. When Olave, Garrett Wilson, JSN were all at Ohio State, they asked Olave and Garrett Wilson who the best receiver on the team was, and they both said Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's a great talent. He might not have elite speed, but he's a great separator, has great change of direction skills. I think he has a lot of upside even as a rookie. I think he could be very good. And you guys will see the running back that I want to get back to me. He might be taken a little bit ahead of a lot of these guys that you might be thinking. Kamara, we saw get that 3-game suspension today. I still think 3 games is a little bit more than I thought he'd get. I thought he'd get 1 or 2. So that is a bit more concerning, but I don't think it's a bad pick to take him. It'll be interesting to see where Jamal Williams goes in drafts, too. If people think that they're going to get, 3 weeks of him, being just a difference-making starter. Jordan Addison's another guy's a rookie. I think he's going to be pretty good. He's just a separator. I think he'll get a lot of targets as well in that Minnesota Vikings offense, playing that Adam Thielen role. And like a first-round pick spent on him, I think he could be even more involved. And I don't think he'll out-target Hockenson necessarily, but maybe better producer than Hockenson is for fantasy. One more pick before we go. The running back that I want is still on the board. I'm hoping Khalil Herbert gets to me here. I think he is a good value, just like the talent that he has. I think he'll be the starter in that backfield. We've seen him be very successful for fantasy when he's had that role in the past. I will say Darren Waller here in the 8th round is an excellent value. I definitely thought about taking him here. I just love the upside of Herbert. And I'll take some shots later in the draft, but as my third RB, I like to snag him. I feel like there's such a drop-off the rest of these guys after this of trying to find that guy who could fill in. And start early if something, let's say Jonathan Taylor sits out 2 weeks. Outside of, Penny, P. Ryan, Damian Harris, Jamal Williams, it's going to be hard to find another back that I can plug in. And I like Herbert a little bit better because of his upside potential than those other guys. So took him there, passed on Waller, although I think he would have been a great draft pick. Could have gone either way. But yeah, as you can see, after the 2 RBs and QB, we took 4 consecutive wide receivers. Keep targeting that position probably the rest of the way, get a few more shots at it. A little bit of a running on running backs after I took Herbert, Dillon, Gibson, P. Ryan, then Tua went off the board. I think these 9th and 10th rounds will be our last ones. Then we'll call it just because it's a long wait to keep drafting. I don't know how many people will care after round 10. Brandon Cooks in round 8. A little earlier than I would have anticipated him going. One thing I'll say about Gabe Davis, I did hear after his high ankle sprain last year, he said he was really, compromised. I think he's got more upside this year than people realize. They brought in Dalton Kincaid, but not another wide receiver to really compete with him. I think Gabe Davis is a value where he's going. You're basically getting a much bigger discount where he was going last year, and all the same hype almost applies. I guess you could say you've seen it 1 year, so you don't believe as much. But like I said, if that ankle sprain is true and you're getting him at the end of the 8th round with Josh Allen, there's a lot of upside there for Davis. Jamal Williams goes in the 9th round, not far after Alvin Kamara. Obviously, that start of the season is a big thing for fantasy football. It's such a big chunk of your regular season at that beginning. There are some players on the board I still like, so hopefully we can snag one of these guys. Wouldn't mind Juju at this point in the draft. I do think he's just going to get a decent amount of volume in that New England offense. Even if he does have an upside, I think he's a guy who could be, close to a 6 to 8 catch a week type of guy. So that's a dependable guy in your lineup each and every week. Charbonnet just went. I'll take Juju Smith-Schuster. I talked about Michael Thomas a little bit, but I'll take Juju. I just think he's going to be super involved in that offense, and I just don't know if I trust Michael Thomas to keep staying healthy. There is a tight end if he comes back around. I think he's good value at this point in the draft. So I think about him there, and that's Evan Ingram in the 10th round. He is very involved in that Jaguars offense, especially down the stretch last season. Obviously, they have Ridley, so maybe he'll be less involved, but still, I think they're going to utilize him. And further evidence of that point is they gave him a contract extension this year. Instead of just straight franchise tagging him, they signed him to a multi-year deal. So that's another reason why I think he could be involved, as well as athletic profile, a lot of those things. We've just been waiting for him to be used more as a big wide receiver, and they are doing that in Jacksonville now. And Evan Ingram goes. That makes sense, though. That was great value on him there. And we'll see who gets back around to us. Zay Flowers is still on the board, I believe. And he is gone as well. That's the way the draft goes. Lazard, I think all those guys, Lazard is a good option. Taking a look at who we still have on the board, this one's interesting. This is an interesting pick. I don't like taking Jameson Williams because that suspension is just so long. But a lot of these other options, I will take Jameson Williams here. I do think his upside is just crazy high, but I think his floor is extremely low, just with the way the Lions have talked about him somewhat and the struggles they had with him last year. So as we see the roster over here on the left, we have Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson, Mike Williams, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Khalil Herbert, Juju, and Jameson Williams. I do like that team. Would have loved to get some type value on tight end, but honestly, I still think Freiermuth is a guy you can plug in each and every week. There's already guys out there that I wouldn't mind drafting. And like I said, when I take that QB early, not necessarily targeting that position a ton. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please let me know in the comments whether you like the live drafts better, the quick drafts. Let me know any questions or comments. Leave them down there. I'll respond. Let me know any fantasy questions you guys have. And please hit that like button, comment. It really helps me out. And please, please, please subscribe to stick around for more videos. All right, this has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.